Hello, and welcome to my channel. Here I review movies and television shows. Today I want to discuss the film Woman of the Hour. It's a thriller about the experiences of several of Rodney Alcala's victims. Rodney Alcala was a serial killer in the United States who was active during the 70s in California and New York. This film is a dramatized retelling of his crimes from his victims' perspective. The main story follows a woman named Cheryl. She's a young actress in Hollywood trying to make a name for herself. She goes on a dating show hoping to get exposure, but Rodney happens to be one of the contestants. The other stories follow a few of Rodney's other victims, such as a flight attendant, a young homeless girl, and an intern at his work. We see how Rodney wormed his way into his victims' lives and experienced the moment before he attacks. Ian McDonald wrote the story and Anna Kendrick directed the film. This is her directorial debut, which is quite impressive. The film stars Anna Kendrick as Cheryl, Daniel Zovatto as Rodney Alcala, and Tony Hale as the host of the dating show. It's a slow burn mystery that cuts around between a few different stories. It's got a dark and foreboding atmosphere, a few nice landscape shots, as well as powerful scene work, and the cast nails their assignments. Starting with the visual journey. It's clear, easy to follow, and filled with great cinematography. It takes place in the 70s, so there's a few outdated set pieces and retro outfits. In each of the stories, we see the victim going about their life and randomly meeting Alcala. Thanks to the camera work and the editing, each interaction with Alcala feels like a mirror with two images. One depicting a friendly young man enjoying himself, and another showing a predator stalking his prey. In each story, you get a few mesmerizing shots of the victims and Alcala right before the attack. They capture the emotional buildup perfectly, and then the attack itself is a quick bit of violence that cuts to black with a nasty implication. Each attack is unique in how it plays out, but all are equally as intense. Like being thrown into a pit of vipers and being told that each carries enough venom to kill an elephant. Alcala's very presence is made to feel unnerving enough to set your skin crawling. They also had a few beautiful landscape shots when they were outdoors. That shot of Joshua Tree during the golden hour was especially nice. After the visuals, the next part of the film is the acting. The cast not only understood their assignments, they all showed up with their A-game. Most of the screen time goes to Alcala's victims and Alcala himself. The victims portray ordinary people who get into a bad situation and seem to realize that something is wrong. They get scared, try to fight back, and each gets their own ending. There's a lot of great emotional work from them as a whole, with a lot of fantastic fear reactions. Autumn Best and Anna Kendrick get to do a little bit more than the others. Kendrick's character, Cheryl, is an already depressed person reaching the end of their rope. She's only going on the show as a last-ditch effort to sustain her career as an actress, and meeting a serial killer puts a serious damper on her plans. Kendrick plays the emotional journey well, bringing a lot of charm and personality to the second half of Cheryl's story. She makes you want to root for her. Autumn Best plays a young homeless teenager. She shows a lot of charisma throughout the film and does a fantastic job during the finale. She shows great subtle emotional work as well as a few extreme reactions that are quite moving. Daniel Zovatto as Rodney Alcala is creepy and somewhat charming at the same time. He knows what to say to make people feel comfortable but never quite looks it himself. Like he's always a step away from being found out. Zovatto plays Rodney's emotional instability in a psychotic way that makes you pity him and hate him at the same time. When it comes to the attacks, it's like he flips a switch in his head and a monster comes out to play. His expressions are diabolical. After the acting, the film starts to go downhill a bit in terms of quality. The writing, for instance, is exciting but is quite confusing at the same time. The story is filled with murder, tense moments where victims are stalked, and there's even a good bit of mystery. It's easy to get caught up in what's happening and wanting to find out where Rodney's story ends. The problem is that the film constantly skips between stories like your dad surfing TV channels back in the day. Just click, click, click. At times, it isn't always clear why they're cutting away from a story, or even what they're cutting to. They try to give you a heads up with a little bit of text, but it flashes by in an instant. They cut around often, and after a while of cutting around randomly, it becomes harder to stay invested. It's a fascinating story as a whole, and individually, each of the tales would be interesting. It's just how they chose to present these stories that makes it hard to understand. Sound-wise, the film is simple and doesn't accomplish much beyond a few tense moments. Most of the film is filled with ambient noise and no music. The only songs that appear are tension tracks and one random original pop song. The pop song adds a bit of flavor but doesn't accomplish much else. The tension tracks help elevate the scenes with Alcala attacking his victims. They draw out the anxiety of the situation and help lead you into the big release. That said, they're all incredibly simple tracks that appear for limited scopes and don't add much beyond tension. The lack of music makes the film feel a bit more tense, but also makes it feel incredibly boring and one note. There's nothing but a scary, tense experience here. Personally, I enjoyed the film and thought Kendrick did a fantastic job for her debut film. The attention to detail is there, she gets some great performances out of the other actors, and does a solid job herself. The film does a good job getting across how terrifying and creepy a guy like Alcala was, and how easy it is for victims to fall prey to a monster. It's not trying anything all that new, but it is a well-made film that is entertaining. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye!